Let me tell you something. I have sat in this chair for over 20 years. 20 years of auditions. 20 years of people walking out onto stages just like this one. Microphone in hand, hearts pounding, palms sweating, eyes wide with a dream so massive it barely fits inside their chest. I have heard screaming. I have heard crying. I have heard people completely fall apart the moment the spotlight hit them. And I have heard, on very rare, very precious, very unforgettable occasions, something that stopped time, something that made the audience forget to breathe. Something that made me, Simon Cowell, a man who has been called cold, called heartless, called the villain of primetime television more times than I can count. Something that made even me go completely, utterly, and totally silent. This is one of those nights. But before we get there, before we get to the moment that changed everything in that room, I need you to understand something first. I need you to feel what was happening before she even opened her mouth. Because here's the truth about talent shows that nobody ever talks about. Here's the thing that producers don't put in the highlight reels. Every single person who walks through those doors, every single one, carries something invisible with them onto that stage. You can't see it, you can't photograph it, but it is absolutely 100% real. They carry their doubt. They carry every person who ever told them they weren't good enough. They carry every teacher who skipped over them in the school play. Every audition room where someone looked at them with flat eyes and said, "Thank you, we'll be in touch." They carry years, sometimes decades, of silence where their gift just sat inside them, waiting, aching, with nowhere to go. And that's not just a performer's problem. That is a human problem. That is your problem. That is my problem. That is every single person watching this right now, sitting on your couch at 10 o'clock at night, asking yourself the quiet question you've been too afraid to say out loud. Am I enough? Does what I have actually matter? Is it too late? That is the question that hangs in the air of every audition. That is the real competition. Not singer against singer, not talent against talent. It is the human spirit versus the crushing weight of self-doubt. And the only prize that matters is the courage to show up anyway. Now, let me tell you about a woman named Lea Salonga. She walks out onto the America's Got Talent stage, and the first thing you notice is this. She is calm. Not the fake calm of someone holding themselves together with tape and prayer. Real calm. The kind of calm that comes from a woman who has walked into rooms like this before and survived them. The kind of calm that carries history behind it. Because here's what most of the audience in that arena doesn't fully know yet. Here's what Simon Cowell, sitting behind that desk, already knows with every single cell in his body, the moment she says her name and where she's from. This woman is not a hopeful. This woman is not a dreamer just starting out. This woman is the dream. This woman is the answer to every question about whether talent is real, whether voice is a gift or a skill, whether one human being can truly, physically make sound come out of their body that reaches into your chest and rearranges something in there permanently. Lea Salonga is from the Philippines. She is one of the most celebrated musical theatre voices in the entire history of the art form. She originated the role of Kim in Miss Saigon in the West End and on Broadway. She was the singing voice of Disney princesses, Jasmine in Aladdin, Mulan. Two of the most iconic animated characters in the history of cinema heard her voice and became complete because of it. She has performed for royalty. She has performed at Carnegie Hall. She has a Laurence Olivier Award. She has a Tony Award. She has a Drama Desk Award. When the world thinks of what the human voice can do at its absolute peak, Lea Salonga's name is in that conversation. Full stop. And yet, here she is, on this stage, under these lights, in front of these judges. And do you know why that matters so much? Do you know why I get emotional even thinking about it? Because it tells you something. It tells you that greatness doesn't age out. It tells you that the best of us don't stop. They don't sit in the archive of their own legacy and collect dust. The greatest artists, the most genuinely gifted human beings, they keep going back to the source. They keep showing up. Not because they need the validation. She doesn't need anything from us, let me be very clear. But because the voice needs to sing the way a river needs to flow. You cannot dam it up. You cannot retire it. It is not optional. So she stands there, the lights come up, the music starts. And the first note, I want you to understand this, the first single note that comes out of her mouth is not a warm-up. It is not an introduction. It is a declaration. It is a full, clear, perfectly centered, effortlessly powerful note that fills every cubic inch of that enormous room the way sunlight fills a room when you pull back the curtains. Immediate. Total. Undeniable. And I watch the audience. This is something I do. I watch faces. I watch the moment when a person's expression changes, when the polite, cautious optimism of watching someone walk on stage transforms into something else entirely, something involuntary, something that happens to the face before the brain has caught up, the jaw that drops slightly, the eyebrows that lift, the eyes that go wide, and this is the one I look for, this is the one that tells you everything, the eyes that fill, not with sadness, with recognition, with the overwhelm of encountering something genuinely beautiful in a world that doesn't always make it easy to find. Row after row after row, I watch it happen, like a wave, like dominoes, like a slow, warm, unstoppable tide moving through the crowd, person by person, until the entire arena is in the grip of what she is doing. And what she is doing is this: she is singing like someone who is not performing for approval. She is not looking at the judges. She is not playing to the cameras. She is inside the song the way a great actor is inside a role, completely, fearlessly, with nothing held back and nothing performed. Every breath is honest. Every phrase is shaped. Every note she holds, and she holds them with the kind of control that makes trained vocalists around the world quietly put down their coffee and stare. Every single note tells you that she has done the work. Not just the work of years, but the work of decades. The work of a life lived entirely inside music. Now let me tell you what happens at the table. Howie is the first to stand. He's up before the first major run is even finished, and Howie does not stand easily, I want to say that. Howie has seen a lot. Howie Mandel has been in this business as long as I have, and he's up on his feet like gravity stopped working for him for a moment. Sophia is next. And I can see from where I sit that she's pressing her fingers to her lips the way people do when they're trying to hold in a feeling that's too big for their face. Heidi has both hands over her heart. The whole front row of the audience is standing. And me? I'm sitting very, very still. Not because I'm unmoved. Not because Simon Cowell, the man with the stone face and the brutal honesty and the reputation for making grown adults cry with a single raised eyebrow. Not because none of this is getting to me. I'm sitting still because I'm doing what I do when something genuinely extraordinary is happening. I am listening. I am being absolutely present for it. I am refusing to look away or perform a reaction because this deserves more than a reaction. This deserves witnessing. And here's what I'm feeling, since we're being honest, since this whole night has been about honesty. I'm feeling something I don't feel very often. I'm feeling something that I'd actually call gratitude. Because in 20 plus years of doing this, you develop a very specific fear. The fear that you've already heard the best of it, the fear that the greatest moments are behind you, catalogued somewhere in your memory, and that what's left is diminishing returns, lesser echoes of former peaks. And then a woman from the Philippines walks onto a stage in America, opens her mouth and reminds you with every note she sings that beauty is not running out, that the human voice at its highest expression is essentially infinite. That somewhere on this earth at this very moment, someone is singing in a way that would stop your heart if you could hear it. And tonight in this room, we got to hear it. When she finishes, and the ending is everything, she lands the final note with a precision and a power and a grace that makes the silence after it feel almost sacred. When she finishes, the building doesn't erupt the way it usually does. There's a half second, a breath, a collective pause where 10,000 people are simultaneously deciding how to respond to what they just experienced. And then it breaks. And it is the loudest, longest, most spontaneous ovation I have heard in a very long time on any stage anywhere in the world. She stands there and she smiles. And the smile is quiet and genuine, and it says, yes, this is what I do. This is what I am. This is what I have always been. I lean forward. And what I say slowly because some things deserve to be said without rushing. I say, I don't want to give you a critique. I don't have one. What you just did and what you just gave to this room, that is not something I can score or advise on or suggest improvements for. That is a gift. And I think everyone in this building tonight feels genuinely lucky to have been in the room when it was given. And here's what I want to say to you. Watching this, wherever you are, whatever's going on in your life, the reason this moment hits so hard is not just because Lea Salonga is extraordinary. It's because she represents something you need to hear right now. Whatever gift you have been sitting on, whatever voice you have been keeping quiet, whatever thing lives inside you that you've been telling yourself is not enough, is not the right time, is not for people like you, is too late, is too small, is not worth the risk of rejection. I'm telling you, as someone who has spent his entire life listening for the real thing, the world is not overflowing with genuine gifts freely shared. It is actually quite short on them. And every time someone chooses silence over song, every time someone swallows what they were born to give, something is lost. Something that can never be recovered. Lea Salonga didn't go silent. She didn't decide that her moment had passed. She walked out onto a stage in front of the world and she sang. And in doing so, she did what all great art does. She solved a problem that none of us even knew we had until she fixed it. She reminded us what we're capable of. She raised the ceiling of what we believe is possible for a human being to feel and express and share. She made the world, for the duration of that song, measurably more beautiful than it was before. That is what a voice can do. That is what your thing, whatever it is, and can do. If you let it, if you show up for it, if you stop waiting for perfect conditions or perfect confidence or perfect permission, and you simply, bravely, irrevocably step into the light and give what you have. Because I'll tell you something. I've been in this chair a long time, and the ones I remember, the ones that stay with me, that I think about years later in quiet moments, they're never the ones who played it safe. They're never the ones who gave me something halfway because they were protecting themselves from failure. The ones that stay with me are the ones who gave everything, every single thing, left nothing on the stage, walked off emptied out and full at the same time, the way you feel after crying hard or laughing hard or hearing something so beautiful it temporarily dissolves the part of you that worries about everything. Lea Salonga left nothing on that stage, and she walked off with everything. And I, Simon Cowell, the man who has heard it all, who cannot be surprised, who does not cry on television, who has made a career out of telling people the hard truth. I sat in my chair, and I was, for a few extraordinary seconds, completely and totally speechless. And honestly, it was the best feeling I've had in years.